Hello, church. Pastor Jack here, and welcome to my study. Welcome to my YouTube channel. First Things First with Pastor Jack. We're in the middle of a study on the book of Philemon. A little short, 25 verse book that has some great meanings that we need in this world we live in today. Today, we're going to be looking at a topic that I think we really need to talk about, and it's what this channel is all about. Uh, Paul was dealing with an issue without ever talking about it in this verse, in these 25 verses of slavery. I talked last time about what slavery was, and it's not what a lot of people picture slavery as today. It was basically people being too far in debt, and they end up selling themselves to other people in order to pay off their debt. And it's sad, and it was a bad social issue of the day. And Paul never strictly addressed this social issue. And as I've thought about this, I think of a lot of social issues today. I wrote a few down here: transgenderism, wokeness, abortion, homosexuality, politics in general, social issues of our day. How should Christians deal with these things? What does it look like when a Christian deals with these things? And I think we saw in this just a few verses here, we saw how Paul dealt with this social issue, and I think it's a good example on how we should deal with it. The first question you got to ask yourself is this a sin or not? Paul didn't tell us, his determination about the social issue of his day. He had every opportunity here to say it was a sin. We didn't live in that time. It's easy for me to say I didn't live before the Civil War, but it's easy for me to say people getting captured and forced into slavery is definitely sin, definitely. But in those days it was different. So I don't know whether it was sin or not, and Paul didn't say. But all these issues that I just said here, the first thing you have to do in your mind is decide whether it's sin or not, whether it's sin. Um, Several of these issues I have taught on in this platform, and you know my feelings that it's sin. Um, you know, um, I'm not going to say somebody's of other political party that's sin, but if they're backing a sin, then I can't see how it's not. But that's something you're going to have to decide. And I don't have to tell you whether it's sin or not. You need to let the Holy Spirit and let God tell you whether it's sin or not. But if it is sin or if it's not sin, there's just one more step you have to do if it is sin, and you have to do the same things that you would do if it was not sin. If it is sin, you should make it perfectly crystal clear to the person that you're having to deal with that's involved in one of these social issues. You got to make sure they know that if you believe that it's sin, that you believe that and why you believe that. You don't need to be two-faced. You don't need to pat them on the back when you're with them and to talk about them when you're away from them. You need this to be right up front. This is sin, and here's why I think it's sin, and and that's the way I'm going to deal with this. It's sin, and you're not going to convince me otherwise. But then you need to go and do the exact same thing as you would have done if it had not been sin. If it hadn't been sin, then you go straight to this next step. And the next step is what I'm calling the characteristics of Christian love. You see, because it don't matter if it's sin or not, the same characteristics has to bear through that Paul bore through here. And let's look at those. There's 5 of them. I'm going to have to move pretty quick to get through in my 10 minutes. But Paul was grateful for others. In the 4th verse, he said, I always thank God and am remembering you in my prayers. So whether he felt that Philemon was sinning by having a slave or not, he never said. But he said that I always am thankful for you. true Christian love, one of the characteristics of that is being grateful for others. You should be grateful for that person who's either a sinner or not a sinner, don't matter. He's involved or she's involved in some social issue. You need to make sure you know, or they know, that you truly are grateful for them. The second one is Paul, he seeked the welfare of others. And in the 10th verse, he said, I'm appealing to you concerning my child Onesimus. And so, whether Nesmith was wrong in stealing the money and running away or not, Paul didn't address that here. He didn't say whether it was sin or not sin, but he did say, I am concerned for him, and he's seeking the welfare for him. So, if you have somebody involved in one of these social issues, you need to be seeking their welfare. If they were sinning and you told them they were sinning, then you need to treat them like you really care about their welfare, and then you need to treat them that way if it's not a sin. Either way, the response has to be the same. The third thing is he dealt honestly with them. In the 12th verse, he tells Philemon, I have sent him to you. I didn't have to send him to you, but I sent him to you. And he was dealing honestly with this man who could have been involved in sin, might not be involved in sin. We need to be honest with people. People caught up into these social issues, we need to be honest with them. And that's why if we believe it's a sin, we got to be honest and tell them. But regardless, if we don't think it's good for them and we think it's not good for them, we need to be honest with each other. Something about our society today is, that if you're honest about something and say how you feel, everybody looks down their nose at you. But Christians love, a characteristic of it is being honest. The fourth one, bears the burdens of one another. In the 18th verse, he said, if he has defamed you or if he has taken anything, I will repay it, Paul said, talking about what Philemon had done, or Onesimus had done to Philemon. So he was taking the burden on. There's people caught up in social issues today that have burdens, and we need to help them with their burdens. That's what Christians do. That's what we do. The last one, believes the best of others. In the 21st verse, he said, I am confident, talking to Philemon, that you will obey God. I'm confident you will obey God. And we need to believe in the best in other people. Man, if in the politics part, if we could just do that, we need to have Christian characteristics towards these people. There's a big issue going on right now on YouTube. I don't know if you saw it or hadn't saw it. Pastor Alistair Begg, as far as I'm concerned, a great pastor, said that there was somebody called a grandparent of a transgender person, and they were going to have a transgender marriage. I'm not real sure what that is. I guess it's a woman that thinks she's a man marrying a man that thinks she's a woman. So it's a man married a woman. So I guess, I don't know. It might be a homosexual marriage. I'm not sure. I don't know what I have no idea. This is I can't order coffee at Starbucks, so I can't keep up with that stuff. But he asked, and Alistair could have done a better job, at least in him describing what he told him. But I think he asked that grandparent who called and wanted to know, should they go to the wedding. I think he said, did you tell them that what they're doing is sin? That wasn't the way he said it. Okay, but he pastors a mega church, so he says things a little different than I do. But I think that's what. And they said yes, and he told them to go to the wedding. Which sounds more like these characteristics, going to the wedding or not going to the wedding. Grateful for others, seeks welfare of others, deals honestly with others, bears the burdens of others, believes in the best of others. That grandchild wasn't asking that grandparent to commit, to become a transgender. It was saying, want him to come to their wedding. If you look them in the eye and say, that's sin, that you're questioning the way God made you, and that's sin, you understand that you're a sinner, and they said yes, then I can understand him saying go to the wedding, because we need to have Christian characteristics. In our country, Christians have went the wrong way a couple of times. You know, there's been cases where people got sued. You know, if I am a florist and I run a business and I sell flowers, and two gay people come in and ask me, "Will you make my flowers for our wedding?" I would look at them in the eye and say, I think being homosexual is sin. I think that it's wrong for you to get married. I think that you're sinning if you get married. But I also want to be a witness to you and tell you that Jesus will forgive you. And if you understand how I feel about the sin you're involved in, and you want me to make the flowers, I'll make them, and y'all can come pick them up. You know, if that's what you want. But you know, I want you to know that I think it's sin. Which one do you think might win them? No, I ain't doing your flowers, and you can sue me, and I still won't do your flowers. You think that's going to win them to God? Or do you think being honest with them and be concerned for them and telling them that you think they're living in sin, but if they want you to do the flowers, you'll put the flower arrangements together for them? Which one do you think sounds more like what Paul did here? I tell you, you know, this is not easy. And there's a lot of theologians jumping all over Alistair Begg right now. And I'm going to tell you, they ain't pastors. Because if you've ever been a pastor and you've had to look somebody in the eye and listen to the things that go on and try to give the characteristics of Christ to them, it ain't always black and white. It's not. Think about this, you know. Would I ever marry a homosexual couple? No, no, because now I'm signing my paper and I'm marrying them in the sight of God. So I'm a witness before God here, and I can't be required to by laws in the state that I live in. But at the same time, would I go to their wedding if it was a family member and I made sure they understood how I felt about their sin? You better believe I would, because I love them. I love them with all my heart. And if you love somebody, you act different than what some people do today in our society. God bless you. Keep our first things first. And I'll see you on the next video.